everyone for joining us today. Welcome to our webinar, Rooted in Community, the Benefits of Community Greening. My name is Alyssa and I'm on the board of directors for Earth Economics, and I will be introducing our speakers for today. We have Maya Kosian, Executive Director for Earth Economics. She has been with Earth Economics for over 17 years and is dedicated to fostering resilience in communities. We also have Olivia Molden, Project Director for Earth Economics. She has been with Earth Economics for over 4 years. She leads our work with community-based organization and is passionate about working directly with communities at the front lines of climate change. And we have Jean Jensen, Administration and Development Manager with Earth Economics. She leads development on our projects and engages with new partners, as well as leads our fundraising effort to support community greening. And I will now turn it over to Jean to go over the agenda for today.
All right, hello, and thank you for the introduction, Alyssa. Earth Economic acknowledges that we operate on the lands of the Coast Salish peoples, specifically the ancestral homelands of the Puyallup Tribe of Indians, as established in the 1854 Medicine Creek Treaty. So during today's webinar, we will give a background and history of Earth Economics, go over our model for engaging with community-based organizations, highlight projects that were supported by our donors, and announce our partners for this year's Give Big fundraiser. And then we will also be wrapping up with a question and answer session. So if you have any questions, feel free to add them to the chat throughout the presentation, and we will address them at the end. And I will now turn it over to Maya.
All right, thank you. Hello, everyone. Happy Earth Day. Earth Economics is a 501c3 nonprofit founded in 1998 and then incorporated as a nonprofit in 2004. We are headquartered in Tacoma, Washington, just south of Seattle, and we are a leading organization in natural capital valuations. Our work involves quantifying and valuing the benefits that nature provides to people, communities, and organizations. And this fosters effective decisions that prioritize the well-being of both people and nature. Now that we've given a really brief overview of who we are, we're going to dive into how we collaborate with other organizations. So we at Earth Economics collaborate. We can't do this by ourselves with governments, tribes and First Nations, foundations, nonprofits, and community-based organizations. And so here's a little history of our community engagement work, specifically with community-based organizations. So for over a decade, part of our funding has come from the Kresge Foundation, a forward-thinking organization. In 2017, they launched the CRUISE initiative. CRUISE stands for Climate Resilient and Equitable Water Systems, aimed at fostering a community focused on water climate resilience and equity. And as part of the CRUISE network, Earth Economics supports other Kresge grantees listed here in this slide. And by providing economic expertise and tools on ecosystem valuation and cost-benefit analysis, we can help enhance local green infrastructure and climate resilience projects. And following successful work with Kresge, Earth Economics Board established the Ingrid Rosch Legacy Fund in 2021 to provide annual pro bono technical assistance to nonprofits and CBOs that are not part of the Kresge CRUISE network, but that are also addressing environmental justice, climate hazards, and displacement threats. We allocate donations received by Earth Economics to the Ingrid Rosch Legacy Fund, and this ensures that these funds are used for specific community-based organization projects. And so far, we have successfully completed 3 projects with World Relief Western Washington, Amigos de los Rios, and Peace Trees Vietnam. Now I will pass it on to Olivia, who will share more details about these 3 projects.
Thanks, Maya. Yes, so before I get into the details of our wonderful donor-funded projects, I just want to share a little bit about our community engagement model. And basically, we follow a series of 5 steps for all of our projects with local nonprofits and CBOs, or community-based organizations, and all of this is based off of principles of co-ownership. So for the first stage is probably one of the most involved stage, and that's developing a scope of work together. And we want to make sure that our services and expertise really align with what our partners need. So we go through an audience exercise to think about what sort of deliverables they want to share, and really what they want to see out of the project. We also go through data needs because our work is only as good as the data that we have. And then we go through the usual tasks timeline and also discuss what we can do within the budget available, thanks to all the donations. So once we've established our scope of work, we develop a framework together. And this is really a moment to align, some of our technical economic jargon with what makes sense for the community and their audience. So we go through and we develop a framework for how we want to run the analysis. And during this, we also can help identify data needs and gaps for data collection. And data collection really varies greatly between projects. Sometimes it's more of a qualitative analysis because there just isn't anything yet. And in other cases, we're developing data infrastructure so that our partners can go out and collect that data. But again, this varies greatly, as you'll see in the coming slides. And then we go through our analysis, and we have a wonderful research team who has ready-to-go tools for different ecosystem services and green infrastructure types. So we use those, and we often will add in additional services and green infrastructure types based on our partners' work. So finally, we end up with our outputs. Most often, these are fact sheets and reports. And the reports provide detailed information on our methods and our data sources so that folks can understand where the information is coming from. And throughout the process, this can take a couple months, depending on the project. And in other cases, it can take over a year. And we're very fortunate that in many cases, we sign multiple scopes of work with the same partner, either adding on additional phases or doing something completely different. For example, pictured here is our wonderful partners from EcoAction, who we got to see this past fall at the Kresge Cruise Gathering. So let's take a look at our 3 donor-funded projects. I'll just quickly introduce them. The first was World Relief Western Washington, which welcomes thousands of refugees from around the world. Our second is with Peace Trees Vietnam, and they're headquartered in Seattle and Central Vietnam. And their work is dedicated to addressing the legacies of war, mainly through removing explosive ordinances, planting trees, and supporting communities in Central Vietnam. And then third is Amigos de los Rios, who's working to create an emerald necklace across the Los Angeles basin. This is done through a network of green schools, parks, and trails in underserved communities. So our first project, which started in the fall of 2021, was with World Relief Western Washington. And the goal of this was to show the benefits of their Paradise Parking Lots Community Garden project in Kent. And where this all originated was through a needs assessment. World Relief did a needs assessment with their local refugee communities there to identify an area where they could turn a church parking lot into a vibrant green space where the local community could grow culturally relevant foods. And so as of 2021, when we did the project, they had removed 50,000 square feet of asphalt, and they'd added over 50 garden beds. They also added a number of other features such as composting areas, rain gardens, rainwater cisterns, a bioswale, a food forest, and then they also worked on hillside restoration to help reduce some of the flood impacts that they were seeing. So some of the other goals of the partnership were to highlight World Relief as a leading example in urban community resilience, to help increase their support for refugee and immigrant communities, and to provide a model that others could replicate on communicating the benefits of this kind of work. And we have all of these published online, and you can learn more through the links. So in most of our work, we typically focus on the sort of quantitative valuation piece, but in many cases, we need to have some qualitative analysis as well to really show many of the benefits that we can't get through the valuation due to data limitations or other factors. So we provide a number of other sorts of infographics that show the impact of our partners' work. For example, here is a picture of where the 163 people who use the gardens originally came from. And we also use this alongside data from surveys that World Relief conducts with their gardeners to show the cultural relevance of the garden, because sadly the cultural benefits of gardens or ecosystem services are really hard to capture in a dollar value. So here's just a summary of some of our main findings from the partnership. And what we found is that each year the garden provides over $15,000 in ecosystem services. The icons here show the breakdown of those services, so all the different areas that we measured. And this is really quite significant for such a small area. And this is also reflected in the benefit cost ratio, which shows that for every dollar invested in the garden, it provides $1.28 in benefits. We also showed the market value of the food grown and also educational benefits of the garden with especially the interaction of school children. And I'm happy to go over any more of these findings later on in our Q&A. So looking at our next project with Peace Trees Vietnam, we worked with them on a very different sort of project, and this was really focused on mapping and spatial analysis. So we wanted to help them understand the overlap between climate change, natural hazards, and their work in the removal of explosive remnants of war. So this map here shows that overlap between population and the areas of explosive remnants of war, just for context. And so we developed a series of maps and spatial data and metadata that we could share with Peace Trees, particularly their staff in Vietnam. And really, this is just to help start the conversation on the overlap between climate risks and mine clearance. And part of the work was also to helping identify many data gaps, because we found there's a lot of helpful information, but it lacks spatial resolution to do adequate spatial analysis. One of the areas where there was good data was on flooding due to the devastating 2020 floods. And so zoomed in here is an example of that overlap between flood area shown in blue, and then in brown showing the hazardous areas where the explosive remnants of war have been located. And then the black dots show the residential area. So really showing the overlap between these three things to show that vulnerability. And it's really important to understand future flood risk and landslide risk in these areas, not just to help prioritize where their work should take place, but also because these sorts of events can disrupt and change mine clearance work. So that was our project with Peace Trees. And now on to our third project, which was with Amigos de los Rios. And together we looked at the economic, social, and environmental benefits of greening schoolyards, focusing on one of their projects, the Mary Jackson Elementary School in Altadena, California. They've done many others, and we're trying to find funding to expand our work to look at all these other wonderful projects that they've completed. And we published a fact sheet and report on the benefits of schoolyard greening from this with them. So this photo here just shows the incredible transformation of their schoolyard greening work and the new play features that they added. So one of the things that we looked at was the land conversion, as shown in that first picture there, looking at the benefits of the new features that they added. So you can see here that they removed a lot of impervious surfaces to help with the infiltration, and also to help with improving the accessibility and play features of the school. So one of the areas that was unique about this project was we were able to look at the ADA accessibility change from the previous grass field and asphalt area. But you can see here, while we were able to measure many benefits, there's still a number that have not been quantified yet in the gray box. And these are areas that we'd like to help fill in gaps for future work with our schoolyard greening projects. So to summarize the project with Amigos de los Rios, we found that there was over $400,000 in measurable annual benefits, right? There's many others we weren't able to measure. And some highlights of this analysis were showing that there's over $220,000 in economic activity created by this project, including through job creation, over $112,000 in heat reduction, especially through converting those landscape features, and over 14,000 in stormwater retention benefits. Our analysts also did a scenario analysis looking at the benefits that opening the playground after school hours could provide. So we estimated the number of additional people that may use the playground outside of those school hours, and we found that the physical health benefits of that would go beyond the operation and maintenance costs needed to keep that open. So really helping to provide some arguments and language for the school board. And we found for this project that for every dollar invested, the schoolyard greening work provides $3.60 in benefits. So to conclude, just to summarize all these wonderful projects that we've done through donor engagement, our co-ownership model really helps our partners express either the need for or the impact of their proposed local solutions. And you can see the variety from World Relief Western Washington. We looked at their community gardening work. Peace Trees Vietnam, we looked at their need for greater climate change research and provided them with mapping infrastructure. And then with Amigos de los Rios, looking at the benefits of their schoolyard greening work. So with that, I will pass it on. Thank you all.
All right, thank you, Olivia. So every year we have this thing called Give Big, Giving in May, and we select a community-based organization to support. And so this year, we are excited to announce Tacoma Tree Foundation as our 2024 Give Big community-based partner. Tacoma Tree Foundation is a nonprofit working to make neighborhoods in the greater Tacoma area a greener, healthier, and more connected place. The mission of Tacoma Tree Foundation is to educate, empower, and support communities through neighborhood tree planting and educational events. The work of Tacoma Tree Foundation helps towards the city level 30 by 30 canopy goals of 30% canopy cover by 2030. And then the next slide, you'll kind of see why we also wanted to prioritize this project. Tacoma, unfortunately, like many communities across the country, has a large disparity in canopy cover from neighborhood to neighborhood, as you can see in this canopy map. The Tacoma Tree Foundation focuses their tree planting efforts in areas that have lower tree canopy to close this disparity and provide more green space for those who need it the most. And we invite you to join us in this important initiative, and Jean will conclude the webinar by discussing how you can help.
Awesome. Thank you, Maya. Thank you for sharing. And just to go a little further into the project details of what we would like to do with this analysis in our partnership with Tacoma Tree Foundation, we would like to analyze the costs and benefits of their neighborhood greening projects and also produce some communication materials. Our goal is $20,000 to conduct a thorough benefit cost analysis and produce some meaningful communication materials. However, if we are able to exceed that goal, we would also like to do a beneficiary mapping analysis where we would actually look at who benefits from these neighborhood greening exercises. We would also like to do a tree value profile where we would actually look at the specific types of urban trees, like park trees or school trees, and the benefits that they provide as well. So yeah, the deliverables of this work will really help to communicate the important work that is being done at Tacoma Tree Foundation, and this would hopefully inspire more investment and funding to really continue increasing the canopy cover in Tacoma. So as Maya mentioned, we have our Give Big donor fundraising event starting tomorrow. So it'll be kicking off tomorrow. It's hosted by Washington Gives. You might be familiar with it. So the early giving starts tomorrow, but the event will actually continue all the way through the end of May, and it culminates on May 7th and 8th. Those are the big Give Big days. So you'll see us making some posts about that. So please tune in. And we hope that you'll consider donating to reach our goal or share with anyone you think might be interested in contributing. So yeah, feel free to scan the link or scan the QR code, and then I'll also be sharing the link in our chat. I will also be sharing a few testimonials from our community-based organizations. Thank you all, and yeah, happy Earth Day.